have it your own way.
Mask! Copy!
50 seconds of Sony and Marvel logos that are only my second favorite combo of S&M.
Would it kill you to start a video not complaining about the studio logos? I mean, beginning every single video with this just isn't funny, and as your fanboys continue to tell me, CinemaSins is just a big joke. I mean, CinemaSins is supposed to be funny.
0.4 by 103 point...
Ah yes, like all professional astronauts that are caught in precarious situations, the immediate compulsion is to curse and scream. I don't care how dangerous the symbiote is, astronauts are fucking unflappable, man.
Well, I do care how dangerous symbiotes are, and there's no way a person trapped in what is essentially a tin can in space isn't cursing or screaming should a nebulous alien blob attempt to swallow them, astronaut or not.
Would it not be easier for someone to just carry the symbiote case down the ladder that's right fucking there? And I'm assuming the case can be handled since it was picked up and put in the pulley.
No, it wouldn't be easier to try to take this unwieldy capsule down a ladder. What the hell are you, an octopus? For the rest of us with only 2 arms, we like to live by the old adage, work smarter, not harder.
Oh shit, that poor bastard must have just seen a bird box demon, or ghost, alien, are those things anyway?
Hey, look at me, I'm Jeremy, I'm so cool mentioning things people like. Yeah, I'm hip.
Also, evil killer wakes up and is able to gather their bearings while helpful medical worker is turned away cliche.
Jeremy says a bunch of words about what's happening on the screen in front of the word cliche.
Coffee.
You were perfect.
And also way too f***ing talented to be in this movie.
More so than Tom Hardy? Because he's the most talented person in this film.
It's on the ground today in the Mission District, chasing a lead into some unexpected Silicon Valley overlords.
Montage exposition. Hey man, that's my favorite position.
Judging by the amount of time you have to come up with these bullshit made-up words, that sounds like your only position. Ah.
Eddie, the bike.
MIT! Woo!
Holy shit, in the last 50 seconds or so, we've firmly established Eddie as a gadfly, malcontent social justice warrior that eschews the rule of law for convenience, and yet has an affection for the little man, and that's way too much to cram into 50 seconds.
First of all, a social justice warrior is someone that has affection for the little man. And second, aren't you an SJW? I mean, with all the crying about the way Justice League filmed Wonder Woman, you could have fooled me, Trigglypuff.
You know what I love about this view? It never gets old.
Yeah, because all those f***ing millennials keep disrupting tech services, launching startups, and driving all the older residents that can no longer feasibly afford the house in which they spent their entire life due to rising, he meant the view of the bay. Carry on.
You motherfuckers get it yet? Jeremy is woke, and he's going to make sure you know that he's woke. And by now you've realized that none of this shit so far has been everything wrong with Venom.
Baby, you were run out of New York.
Well, I still have currency in New York.
Don't be fooled by the hog that he bought. He's still at it from the Brock.
Hi everyone, I'm the entity that's incorrectly known as Future Birdman. Due to Jeremy's singing, present Birdman has cringed himself into a temporary catatonic state, and I'll be taking over the next couple of sins while he recovers.
Wait, the screensaver's still on? But they've already had sex and had time to fall asleep. Are we really supposed to be rooting for a guy that only lasts that long?
Well, to be fair, you have 8 million subscribers.
Mr. Drake?
It's okay, don't silence her.
Man, anyone that's trying this hard to prove how woke they are should immediately be suspected of covering up a conspiracy to import alien technology for capital gains.
I'm going to ignore the fact that you yourself have been trying hard to prove how woke you are, and instead point out that the real sin is that Drake told everyone else not to silence the little girl, and proceeds to do exactly that himself.
They try and silence those of us who ask questions, but you know what, in the end, we're the ones who change the world.
Sir, this is a Wendy's.
Somebody say Wendy's? I'll take a Baconator and a chocolate frosty. Oh shit, are we still doing Venom? Yep. My disappointment is immeasurable, and my day is ruined.
Begin human trials.
Oh, it's way too soon to even begin to think
Dr.
about
Skurth,
something
you're at
like...
the forefront of a scientific breakthrough. I need you to hold your nerve.
I like Riz Ahmed a lot, but explain to me how this character is any different from Darren Cross in Ant-Man, or Norman Osborn in Spider-Man, or f***ing Ajax in Deadpool. Just because you have a likable actor doesn't mean you can repeat the exact same formula on every villain, Marvel.
First of all, this is not a Marvel movie. It is a Sony movie. as evidenced by them completely f***ing up and not having Venom have its origins tied to Spider-Man. Second, the only Marvel film you referenced was Ant-Man, and Darren Cross's mind was affected by the pseudo-Pym particles, which led to him becoming evil. Osborn becomes unstable because he experiments on himself in an effort to keep his research going. Ajax is the closest to Drake in motivation, but even Ajax asked the people he experimented on for permission first.
Even if this asshole doesn't perceive Eddie as a threat, he did see him when he walked into the store. And, you know, they do have cell phones in this universe, right?
Do you really think this dude gives a shit about people seeing him? He came in wearing a beanie and nothing on his face. Do you hear what I'm saying? He had a beanie and didn't think to make it into a ski mask.
Also, why didn't he perceive Eddie as a threat? Despite being told by movie he's ultimately a weakling, he also looks a lot like Tom Hardy.
You see this thing in his hand, Jer? It's called a gun. I don't care if your name is Tyrone and you came to f my wife long dick style. You're not too tough to get shot.
I don't care what fake-ass shitty neighborhood this is, it's still San Francisco, and an apartment this big would set you back at least $7,500 a month.
The movie doesn't give you enough information one way or the other about his ability to afford this place, and he had a really decent paying job before, so he's very likely exhausting his savings. Either way though, this is padding the sin count ex machina.
Huh, I guess Eddie doesn't want to Brock.
This is day one. This is first contact.
Actually, it's 6 months after the symbiotes were collected, so it's more like day 186, but semantics.
Notice how he said first contact. He means that literally, genius.
Man, I haven't seen a Drake attempt fail this hard since Thank Me Later.
What? So according to Jeremy of CinemaSins, an album that went double platinum with nearly 2 million albums sold and launched Drake into the megastar that he is today is a hard fail. This is the level of ignorance we're dealing with here.
You have to know how to disappear. I was pretty good, but, you.
This may have been an essential part of Eddie's former job, but all we've seen from the montage and the Gotcha Drake interview is that Eddie's a wrecking ball, not a scalpel. So this is definitely the Venom calling the kettle black.
This is something that you do that always annoys me, Jeremy. When a film presents you with an idea, you question that idea, stating that we've never seen that specific idea before. The problem is, this isn't a sequel, and every idea the film is presenting is the film giving us these character traits for the first time. They are, right now, establishing that Eddie has the ability to know when someone's tailing him. Stop padding the fucking runtime with pointless shit like this. It's demonstrably wrong, it ain't funny, and it for damn sure isn't satire.
You need to find yourself another White Knight, Miss Griff.
I hear Aaron Eckhart's still available. Seriously, the hell's he done since the Dark Knight besides White Olympus has fallen down?
Sully.
We call them symbiotes.
Symbiotes?
Well, we did call them symbiotes as of the first trailer, but it bugged the shit out of people, so we did this totally obvious ADR to cover it up. Got it?
And how is this a sin exactly? The filmmakers recognized their mistake and corrected it, yet you're still calling it a sin for them being correct? Right.
Could Dora have just taken all these pictures and sent them to Eddie and given an interview? I'm honestly not sure I understand why he needed to witness the atrocity firsthand, and there's a lot less chance of anyone getting caught before the story goes public.
The point is that Dora needed someone else to leak the information to the public, as it would ultimately lead back to her if she did it. Besides, good reporters need reliable sources, and the only way for them to verify if a source is reliable is for them to see proof.
So this is just like the indoor speeder chase in Return of the Jedi, except not good.
So apparently, any scene that takes place in a wooded area is just like the indoor speeder chase to Jeremy, even though this scene is nothing like that scene at all. No. Jeremy makes a pop culture reference. No need to go further than that.
Where the hell did he go?
What? All those guys were running toward him and the two cars were driving to him and not one person saw or heard him climb all the fucking way up this tree?
It's Venom. He has superhuman speed and reflexes. It's amazing to me how you miss the things the movie is trying to establish and then complain about those exact things in order to arbitrarily pad the sin counter.
This is Dora.
Holy movie just yada-yada'd how Eddie escaped from that predicament. How long was he in the tree?
Does it matter?
Did security really give up?
Well, obviously, considering he's here.
Isn't the lab on an island? If so, how'd he get off?
You really think an island can stop fucking Venom?
Jesus, this movie actually would have been good if it tried like 22% harder.
The same could be said about your videos, except it would require 78% more effort. Why 78%, you ask? Well, I just assumed since we were making shit up.
You're fired.
But we won't have any investigation of Dr. Dora, even though we can easily and immediately determine that she let the intruder into the lab because she was super good in that movie about a little girl that was good at math.
Normally, I would have just said skip on this patently ridiculous sin, but I wanted you all to hear exactly how ridiculous Jeremy's thought process was.
Wait, Dora knows that the symbiote escaped and that Eddie was at least tangentially affected considering his method of escape. So why does she respond that she's okay? F***ing scientists always making it about themselves.
Do you not realize that just a second ago you were complaining about Drake not suspecting her for the break-in? That's why she's saying she's okay.
The movie can speed bag my ass.
The movie could what?
Never gonna happen.
Did anyone explain how the symbiote knows English while talking to Eddie? I mean, the host from Malaysia wasn't speaking Malaysianese, right?
Couple things. First, Malaysians speak Malay. Second, we don't know what language Riot was speaking to the Malaysian host, considering it never spoke on screen up to this point. But it had to have been Malay, which leads me to my third point. Venom attaches itself to Eddie and gains all of his memories and thoughts, meaning the symbiote learned to speak English simply by attaching itself to him. And a lot of the time, Venom is speaking to Brock in his mind, which would manifest itself in English.
Eddie, where's the bug?
This scene is total manufactured bullshit. Even Drake acknowledged that whoever broke into the lab had been infected, so they know exactly where the bug is. And if that's the case, why didn't they just immediately trank his ass, like Dan did back at the restaurant?
It's almost as if you're not actually watching the film. You just spoke about the Riot symbiote in Indonesia, but somehow missed that the symbiote had been transferring to other people on its way to America. What I'm saying is, it isn't a guarantee that the bug is on Eddie.
He's achieved symbiosis. Are you seeing this?
Yes, we are, and while we'll never know how or why, we know it's convenient as that the guy whose life you destroyed 6 months ago is the first person who has perfectly been compatible with the symbiote.
See, this is the part where I point out how terrible you are at your job. Aren't you always doing that anyway? Hush you. Anyway, this is an actual plot hole that you somehow missed in this terrible movie. The film had been making a big deal out of achieving
Symbiosis.
and how extraordinarily rare it is. All the while, the Riot symbiote had no problem assimilating into 4 different people with no ill effects.
And he sees this reflection how exactly? Is this a power, or just a lazy scriptwriting device to show us Venom for the first time? I lean toward the latter, and wow, what a lame way to show us Venom for the first time.
I'd argue that this is a very clever way of showing Venom. Remember, Venom is attached to Brock's mind at this point.
I get that Drake is a rich and powerful guy, but he can't get away with launching militarized drones on a crowded public street, can he?
You'd be surprised at the amount of shit rich people can get away with.
Eyes, lungs, pancreas. So many snacks, so little time.
Apparently, when the full Venom is unleashed, so too is a weird accent that wasn't at all there in Eddie's head.
Another 2 things. First, this weird accent was already in Eddie's head.
Who said that?
Eddie,
Yes.
never gonna happen. Do not open that door.
And second, of all the ridiculous decisions in this shit show of a film, this is one of the scenes that deserves like 5 sins off, as it is lifted straight from the comics. So, guess how many sins we're going to give you? That's right.
I mean, at this point, you're just wasting ammunition, right?
I'd just like to point out that earlier you asked how Venom got off an island and are now completely ignoring Venom getting his Michael Phelps on. No, not that Michael Phelps.
I am Venom. And you are mine. And you might just survive. That is the deal.
Jesus, that's the deal? Sounds as reasonable as Mexico will pay for it.
Oh, hey. A Trump joke. This is the epitome of lazy comedy, ladies and gentlemen. A better joke would have been, Jesus, that's the deal? Sounds about as reasonable as a Cheeto in the White House.
Hello?
As I watch Suddenly Alone Drake meet up with a little girl that somehow made it into this secure lab without anyone noticing, it occurs to me that this scene seriously feels like it's from a completely different movie. Honestly, I had to check to make sure I didn't have a different disc in there for a second.
Yet another 2 things. 1. This isn't just a little girl. She has the Riot symbiote attached to her, and it is controlling her, which would explain how it was able to get into this lab. 2. Jeremy still uses discs in 2019. Step your streaming game up, son. This ain't 2011.
No, don't do that.
Wait, how is Eddie still alive when every time any of the symbiotes have left a host, the host has died?
Because Eddie has achieved perfect symbiote. You know what? Never mind.
Why does Dryat kill his entire crew? I know he can pilot the spaceship on his own, but doesn't he want someone on the ground to help out with logistics?
You know, I'm not sure if you're being clever calling him Dryat, or if you just really don't know that isn't his real name. I'm going to err on the side of you being a dumbass, as that assumption has never let me down before.
We won't let you destroy this world. You die.
Yay! A fight between 2 evenly matched creatures, in which we have no clue how one can defeat the other. Also known as the Man of Steel scenario.
Again, as I mentioned in my Ant-Man video, characters fight other evenly matched characters in comic books because it wouldn't be entertaining otherwise. You're complaining about not knowing which will win this fight, even though this movie is called Venom. However, I'd argue that it's a good thing if a story sets up characters where anyone can win.
Aw, Venom's trying to George Clooney riot Sandra Bullock. Thankfully, Into the Spider-Verse saved us from this nonsense being Stan Lee's final movie cameo.
Jeremy arbitrarily sends Stan Lee cliche. Also, Spider-Verse isn't going to be the final Stan Lee cameo, as he filmed cameos for Captain Marvel, Avengers Endgame, and presumably Spider-Man Far From Home. So, suck it.
You will be this armless, legless, faceless thing, won't you? Rolling down the street like a turd in the wind.
Yep, this line is what got the fanboys' boners raging. Do with that what you will.
Oh, I will. Jeremy says boner.